And welcome to In-Game Chat for Saturday, October the 11th, 2014. This is Season 8, Episode 41. I'm Scott.
I'm James.
I'm Dennis.
I'm RJ.
And I'm Nathan.
And welcome to the show. If you'd like to get in touch with us, our phone number is 334-272-9228. That is 334-272-9228. Check out ingamechat.net for all the links to get in touch with us. You can find us on Twitter at InGameChat, as well as over on Facebook. You can email us, everyone, at ingamechat.net. And we are streaming right now through Twitch. Head over to twitch.tv and do a search for In-Game Chat, and you will be able to find us there and join us in the chat room, along with some other listeners, live while we broadcast. So welcome to the show. Coming up in the second hour, we've got an interview with Farsight Studios, the makers of the Pinball Arcade. We've talked a lot about Zen Studios with Pinball Effects. Those guys create original tables. Farsight with the Pinball Arcade digitize original tables. So they've got like 20... No, they've got more than that. 50 tables, I think. It's a lot. But they're all real-world tables. Tables that have existed at some point. And you can now play them on a multitude of devices. But we've got an interview with them. They're currently doing a Kickstarter that is about to end tomorrow.
Yeah, is it the Addams Family table?
Addams Family table. Out of the top 10 tables that are in, like, I don't know, that pinball fans voted for as far as these are the best tables that exist, they have all of them with the exception of like 3 that are in the Pinball Arcade. One of those that'll be tough to get is the Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure.
Yeah, because that's Disney now, correct?
Right. Yeah, they got to get licenses. Anytime you do this...
When I was at Dragon Con a couple weeks ago, somebody there was showing off a Tron Legacy table that they were just releasing. So, who knows? And given what's been going on with Disney on Steam this past week, who knows? Maybe something like that could happen.
It may be, but it's still, even though Disney owns the license to it, they still have to
get with the original manufacturer.
Everybody whose image is on the table. They have to get in touch with that actor or actress and say, we'd like to use your image. Sure, just pay me ever how much it costs. You know, everybody whose voice appears in that table, they have to contact that person and license that out as well, so that they can use that for the table. Interesting point about this Addams Family Kickstarter. They could not get Christopher Lloyd's license.
Really?
Yeah, for his image. He appears on the board and on the back glass with his Uncle Fester role, and they are unable to secure that license.
Now, this is a live interview, right?
No.
It's not. Okay.
This is we pre-recorded this on Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah. So, don't know why that is.
Didn't pan
out. So
whatever could have happened.
It'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't know how they're going to work around that other than just kind of create their own.
The Addams Family.
Yeah.
It's not the Fester family.
Right, I understand. Yeah, it's not the it's got to look like Christopher Lloyd family type situation. But anyway, we're going to have that interview coming up at the second hour. And also, don't forget, in Prattville, it's not next weekend, it's the weekend after next on the 25th, I think it is, at the comic shop in downtown Prattville. There is a benefit for Extra Life. You go in there, you pay a little donation, you play video games for as long as you want, and that's going to be going on 2 weeks from today, and we'll have the guy in charge with that on the show next weekend with us. So, a lot of stuff. Anyway, let's start off with what everybody's been doing. I've been playing Destiny with just a bit of dipping my toe into Shadow of Mordor, and have really enjoyed that little dip of my toe into Shadow of Mordor. And
have you messed around with the Nemesis system at all yet?
Oh, yeah, they throw you right into the Nemesis system, like right in the beginning of it, yeah. And I haven't unlocked or opened that up as far as... I got 3 guys in there that are in my Nemesis system so far. But I really like that. Really like that. I could look at those menus all day once I get some of that stuff unlocked. Because you don't know anything, like you'll hear about the guy. So you'll hear about the guy who is your Nemesis. But you don't have any details on him. You just have a name. So you don't have any details like what are his weaknesses? What are his strengths? Stuff like that. To get that information, you have to find. It's a lot like Batman when you had to find the Green Riddler guys in a certain area.
Yeah.
You got to find those guys and you got to interrogate them, and they'll give up the information on the captain or on whoever it is that you're trying to find out about. And you'll get that information like, hey, this guy can block your dodge attacks or can block your parries or whatever it is. The one where you do the flip over.
Yeah.
Over the
Okay,
game.
interesting.
The flip.
I can't remember what it's called.
The flip.
It's a parry.
It's
basically.
just the flip, yeah. And you can block that, or he's vulnerable to that, whatever the case. You can find out all these things about him. Then you can go and track him down. You can get a location too, because you don't know where he's located either. So interrogating these guys around the map can give you those locations.
I'll say, how big is the map? Like,
Well, there's more than one map.
Is there?
Yes,
Okay.
there is.
Because I've seen the overworld map.
Yeah, there's more than one,
Oh, okay.
but I don't want to say it.
Okay, then don't. That's okay. Ryan Squish, we were playing Destiny today, and he said he finally wrapped up the story. And he, I am not big into the Lord of the Rings lore, but he said he didn't want to say anything about it because he thought it was very interesting the way they tie that in with the lore when they finish it up. So,
And another thing, with their defenses, where you're talking about how they're scared of certain things, whatever. Wait until you get the guy with he's scared of the wolves or whatever those things are called.
the ones you can ride.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
Okay. So yeah, that's been on my plate is what I've been doing. Nathan.
I've pretty much been doing those two things. I really have not been. I've been super busy this week with school and work. But I played a little Destiny last night. I'm like 2 points from 27.
Mm-hmm.
I just need to level up my gloves, and then I'll be 27. So, really just need to do the weekly now. But other just been that and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I'll say, there's a joke in there about now you're playing with power and everything. I just can't think of it right now with leveling up your gloves.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been a super busy week for me. So last night was the first night I played anything. So
Yeah. RJ, over to you. Anything recent? Anything new?
No, not really. Just the usual fare. Dark Souls mostly, but I played a little bit of Virtual Fighter 5 Final Showdown. Played a little Ikaruga. Still playing with the Dreamcast. Still dragging that out every now and
Yeah,
then.
because they've re-released that now on
Yeah, they've re-released
PC
that.
and some, I think on Live and PSN.
Yeah, true. Japanese arcade version. Because that's the one they put on the Dreamcast. Harder difficulty of the bunch. And then played a little Street Fighter here and there, and trying to get some information on what's going on in the TFC, which is going on in North Carolina right now. The Fighters Classic, another fighting game tournament that's
Okay.
going on right now. A couple of friends of mine, Greg and Maurice, are up there now.
Are they from here? Local?
From Maurice from Auburn.
Okay.
And Greg's from here originally, and I think if I'm reading the records right, Maurice had a match with Mike Ross of Gamer Fame, and he defeated him. So I've been trying to get all the stats that I can on there while I've been doing that.
What games is the
Street
same?
Fighter,
Okay,
Ultra Street Fighter 4. Mm.
Excellent.
Yeah. But other than that, that's pretty much all I've been doing.
Now, Dennis, I'm going to come to you, and you're probably going to tell me Binding of Isaac.
Well, of course, Binding of Isaac
Okay.
came. I always play that. Earlier this week, of all things, I started up Resident Evil 6 on the PC because I hadn't played through that. I was like, I want to play through something I've kind of done and kind of want to enjoy. It's been long enough. I played back through, and I was like,
That's the one you and I played for a little bit co-op,
Yeah.
right?
Thought it was 5.
No.
No.
We played all the way through 5
Co-op, yeah.
on co-op.
5 was the one where you had the light grenade at the end with the Duvalia fighter, wasn't it?
I have a very poor memory of what actually happened in
The
5.
end of that game,
No,
all I
it
remember
was
was we were in hell, weren't we?
yeah, in the volcano.
Yeah.
Is it
Yeah.
really like I don't? Man,
Where Chris was punching a rock.
and it's,
Yeah, we had
it's not
to
gonna
punch a rock. I remember that, yeah.
That one.
I just remember it stood out because I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were on the.
Because before we were doing a lot of ridiculous
Was
things.
I there?
You were, yeah,
Yeah.
you were there.
No, but the volume one I was talking about was the one where you.
I hope the camera picked that up.
No, but
I don't know because we were playing online, so you
Okay.
could have more than likely, yeah, because you'd be at your place.
Okay.
but no, the
I mean, I don't remember. I've even seen the animated gifs and stuff of that particular scene. I was like, wow, this is bonkers. What game is this from? But evidently, I actually played that game. I have no real memory of the progression of that game.
Yeah.
I remember I remember the song that we used for that game and why.
I can't remember.
Move.
That's right. Yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
And I remember the thing where you drop the things and the giant flying bug thing has to go over the things, and that's the only way to make it dead.
Mm-hmm.
And it was forever. Like, it took forever.
Yeah.
And all I remember about that game is raging at that game. I despised that game. But it's long enough ago now that it was in that period of time when I believe we were still so starved for co-op things of a sort that we were willing to do kind of whatever.
I don't remember the year. I just remember it was around the NBA Finals or the NBA playoffs. And the only reason I remember that is because I believe Track Zero hopped into our little party and said, yeah, I just watched the Call of Duty premiere trailer that just came on, and was telling us about whatever. And I don't even remember which Call of Duty it was for.
Right.
So.
Yeah, we played all the way through 5. And for 6, we red boxed a copy and did a little bit of local.
We did it right after the show because you were there.
Yeah, because I was talking about it.
You were, and we did, and so we checked, and there was a red box not too far from the house, and so right after the show, we went down, got one, came back, and played
a few hours,
split screen co-op, whatever it was.
Yeah, we did that for a little while, and then we stopped and we didn't do it anymore. But I suppose possibly to be fair to it, you have told me that the co-op in that game, you could make an argument that the co-op, particularly the split screen, the local co-op, is actually what was mostly responsible for what a bad time we had.
Yes, absolutely.
That certain of the game systems actually work worse or not so much in your favor when you're playing local co-op. Because you're playing co-op instead of playing by yourself and allowing the AI to control the other of the pair, because you're always playing in a pair.
Yeah, in particular because your AI partner in 6, unlike 5, didn't use ammo. It had its own weapons. It didn't pick up your drops or anything. You didn't have to.
It had its own infinite supply of
infinite supply of ammo. It couldn't die. You didn't have unless it was like a particular scripted sequence where that particular character was
right. So already right away that was a major difference between the co-op and allowing the computer to control it, because you very much could die, and that was a huge problem for your partner. You had to share ammo.
Yeah.
Which was a huge problem for your partner. And the inventory ammo management system was
really
not good.
bad
So
in 5.
the only memory I have of Scott and I playing 6 is just, again, being angry.
All the time. Like, he would die, and I guess I would try to help him out or whatever you would do. I think you could resurrect them or pick, go over and assist your friend. And then I found these bullets, but I need some bullets, and I don't know, give you some of these bullets and you give me some bullets, and we're, doing this nonsense all the time instead of just moving on with life and taking care of. I remember where we
taking care of zombies. That's what we're supposed to do.
We quit at the gas station fight.
Yeah, we did. Boy, that was wretched. I remember that now. Thanks.
Well, because it barely got us through the gun store fight, which was an odd place to have a fight in a gun store and then run out of ammo.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it was just hideous. All the encounters didn't make any sense, and everything was just a frustration. Playing with your friend instead of it being sort of lively and fun and something to yuck about.
Yeah. That's part of the local play was that you shared your any ammo that dropped, like it does in 4 and 5. It's shared between you two in that mode. If you're playing locally, if you're playing over the internet with somebody else, everybody has their own drops that the other person can't interfere with. I played back on 360. I played with I think B.A. Penguin for a little while, and we were asking, hey, do you see this drop over here I'm standing at? He's like, oh, no, I don't see it. Do you see this one? And we eventually figured out, it's like, okay, everybody has their own
you're in your own instance basically for as far as the
as far as your item drops.
Kind of the way that Diablo loot is handled or something. Where they realize that you don't really want people fighting over loot. You want them moving on with the game. Why this wasn't the case in local.
And I don't know why that's I guess that has something to do with how split screen works.
Yeah, the game is all being calculated and rendered on a single system instead of multiple. So it's fine, it's whatever. I can certainly understand, after you having explained that to me, that maybe 6 actually is fun under the right circumstances.
The other thing is
by yourself.
The other thing is, man, they don't play around on difficulty at all. If you want to have a good time playing this game, you play on the lowest difficulty.
Really?
Yeah, because whenever you get grappled, you get a long sequence where you have to mash your sticks back and forth or hit a button, and they take all of that out in the lowest difficulty level.
Yeah.
And that's
Okay.
90% of my frustration going back through. It's like, oh, Jesus, taking forever. I've lost half my life now because, zombies chewing on my neck, and
Right.
the meter is just like, yeah.
So what do we? You and I talked about this as well. I don't have a clear sense of what Resident Evil is anymore after Resident Evil 4, right?
Mm-hmm.
You and I spent a whole lunch break kind of rolling back
kinda-
the tape a little bit in our heads, right? Because, this is an old series now. By the way, this is a very old series. 96 was when the first
Yeah.
one came out, or came out in the U.S. rather. And for whatever it might have been, the mainline series of those games. What did you even play, Scott? What among these have you played?
Played
5?
myself 5 and 6.
6?
Watched.
Wow, just 5 and 6.
Yeah.
I watched the playthrough. It was with my buddy Ben at the time, who was working at the video store. What's the one with the big deformed monster as the boss? It was like 3, but not 3.
Oh,
was
there's-
it Apocalypse?
Nemesis? What are you thinking of?
Nemesis. That's what it
Resident
was.
Evil, yeah, 3.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah,
3.
Nemesis. That's what I thought it was.
I'll say
thought I remember
all
a
of
3.
them have big deformed monsters. in them.
Yeah, but there was like this one that I remember
Purple
like,
tentacles and
either being on the
everything.
cover box or something
Yeah.
like that. It was So, but yeah, Nemesis, Resident Evil 3. So I've watched him play through that one, but of course that was my first experience of what Resident Evil was until I tried out the GameCube
Remake.
The remake.
A remake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's my experience.
Well,
of
and you
that.
have then, in my opinion, missed all of the very best Resident
Right,
Evil experiences.
right.
I mean, I understand that remake is fantastic. I understand because the first game incredibly old.
Is it remade again?
It's getting
Yeah,
remastered,
remastered
essentially.
again.
Yeah, okay.
I watched some stuff about this, and it is basically the GameCube version brought up to
HD
brought up to the
specs and
HD
stuff.
specs,
Yeah.
and it, kind of zooming in to like achieve an HD effect. There were like several. I watched the video earlier today of some gameplay, and it was like the camera like pan up and down because it zoomed in compared to how it was on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mansion, it actually looked pretty cool, but once they got outside, you could like really tell it was like a 2D background.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, my fault. I played the thing backwards. I mean, my first
Yeah, you
foray.
played it
Oh yeah,
backwards.
yeah, that's right.
my first foray into Resident Evil was Code Veronica, because it took me a while to get over spiders. To be honest
Yeah.
with you.
And
I
that
heard-
one was
yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, it
Oh,
was
it was
very
great.
good.
That was
There was a
Yeah.
time. There was a time when all of them, you could make an art, and we did. We actually did. We said, we would try to sit down and talk about which of these is your favorite games, right?
Mhm.
And you could make a solid argument for 1, 2, 3, Code Veronica. I believe, practically speaking, that was all there was at the time for us. That they were each the best expression of what they were. I think as time goes on, and we look further and further back, one clearly does not age well at all.
No, it
But
doesn't.
it's very much it's a really strong memory, right?
Mhm.
I don't want to say it's nostalgia actually, because I don't really want to play that again, but I suppose it is. It sort of helped to perfect a certain type of
it's what we
of
had at
genre.
the time. It was
Yeah.
the only thing before that was even really like that was Alone in the Dark.
Yeah, exactly. It took what Alone in the Dark did and made it much more mainstream at the time. And you can look back on it and say it isn't that great anymore, but I made the googly eyes when I first saw it. It sold me a PlayStation.
The only Resident Evil I ever played was the first one.
The real first one?
Very,
Like the
very,
PlayStation?
PlayStation 1. That was what I played it on. And this was like when it came in the... did you ever remember the hard big box that came in?
Yep, I have that
Well,
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I played that one. Well, because a lot of them came
You're
in...
asking old man James about the
No, they did not the first ones.
Yeah.
All the first ones came in the big hard
Exactly,
box.
but a lot of people know of them in the little glass, the crystal case.
Yeah.
The newer one. But
Yeah,
anyways,
it was the big like cardboard style cases.
Yes,
the black
exactly.
spine or whatever they
Yeah,
call them.
mhm,
Yeah.
yeah. And which I thought was so cool because no other games usually did that.
Well, it was games coming in a package that had been reserved for musical box sets.
exactly.
Previously, and then now all the games are actually coming.
But
in that.
only ever actually truly playing that one from start to finish, and I was like 12 or 13. I've never played any other ones, and I'm actually fine with that. I know the story of all of them. I watch other people play
Yeah.
with them, but I mean, I'm perfectly fine just because the first one.
It was
just had that.
it was seminal. It was really, really fantastic. Code Veronica was a great expression of a slightly different artistic idea. Resident Evil 3 was a perfect follow-on
Yeah.
to the march of like the first few games. It was super brilliant. Resident Evil 4 is probably, for mechanics and the solidity of the design, the absolute near pixel perfect nature of the environments and everything.
That's one I really want to play.
It was very
actually.
Dark Souls in terms of how it operated with its not necessarily its difficulty, but its environmental designs and everything were certainly great. However, 2, without a doubt, 2 is the best.
2 was great.
Is spectacular, and even though it was a very quick follow-on from 1, still holds up. You can still play 2 as it sits and be kind of all right with it. It was it was the greatest leap I think I've ever personally experienced between, here's a game, really good game, I love this game, but then the second one comes out and it is an almost unimaginable increase. It's one of the reasons why I think the last 15 years or so have been filled with inflated expectations of what gaming is capable of.
And I was about to say that's super hard for games. Almost never.
Right,
live
Resident
up,
Evil
almost,
1 to 2 represented a perfect. It is a perfect example of that jump that we were getting every year or year and a half from games 15 years ago that you can't get anymore.
And because 2 wasn't just like, oh, now you're going through a police station instead of mansion. It was
huge.
It was
It
new
was
systems
huge.
and everything. It was huge.
It was 2 playable characters with 4 different possible. I don't know if I'd say significant.
You had two different storylines based on like which direction they run out of in the police car, and you play through both halves of those.
You had the 2 characters. You had Claire and you had Leon, and you could choose which of the 2 characters. Sometimes you would either play Claire for the first half of the game and then Leon for the back half, and it was kind of the same story but from 2 different perspectives. Or you'd play Leon from the front half and then Claire in the back half. So Claire A, Leon B, Leon A, Claire B. It was worth playing through all 4 of them. It was fantastic. It gave more than I could have ever expected.
Yeah, you would have things like, well, if I pick up this extra 2 slots of inventory,
right?
When I go back through here as like Claire, it won't be there. It will be gone because Leon has already taken it.
Which again isn't a huge deal now.
Yeah.
But it's like that was like, what
the
is
bag
this?
ain't there, man. I already took the bag
also,
over here.
Also like how
It's
that
totally
happened.
gone.
Also like how that happened. You pulled a switch here with one person, and they come back. One person activated something, and the other player benefited later on.
Yeah, it was
or vice
it
versa. It was so good at the
really,
time.
really
doing
good.
that.
And then you had each character would independently interact with other characters from the game lore that would then stretch out to go and populate the other game series on and on into the future. It was like one set all the ground rules, but was bananas. It just made no sense, and it was totally bananas. But it was in a spooky, scary house, and that was fine. But 2 was just fantastic. That was just fantastic. Best one of the series by far.
It'd be fun to talk about some of our superior 2s that you've experienced before. But it's funny that we're talking about Resident Evil with Evil Within being released Tuesday.
Yeah, I don't know. I've seen it looks good. It does look good.
I forgot it was in my GameFly queue, and I got a notification yesterday saying we've shipped Evil Within. I was like, oh wow, that's fast.
If you say so.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I don't. They shipped Mordor. It hasn't shown up yet.
I haven't seen anything though that makes me think I'm getting a new and different experience from like 4. You know. I
mean,
that doesn't
look,
look bad.
but no. Let's be fair. This isn't significantly newer or better than 4. Is a great piece of advertisement.
True, very true.
If it can match 4 in any respect, because jumping all the way back to the jumping on point of this conversation, setting aside like the weird light gun game and like maybe Zero to some extent, like setting aside everything that wasn't in the. Yeah, I see you shaking your head. And there's a reason why. No, I mean
that was a bad experience, man.
No,
even if it was free, it was still a bad experience.
Right,
overall.
but setting aside absolutely everything that wasn't a mainline, like really, Resident Evil game, and I think we've pointed this out before. Code Veronica really should have been 3, and Nemesis really should have been the
unnumbered one.
Yeah, the unnumbered side story. But let's put all of them in a single continuum. They were all, in their way, absolutely a great time. And 4, it kind of abandoned the T-virus. It abandoned the traditional scope of the game. It kind of jumped off into a different...
Las Plagas, yeah.
Yeah, Las
Parasite.
Plagas, and you're playing around in like Spain or something like that, and it's all weird and the setting and the artistic interpretation was different. It wasn't Code Veronica 2, but
Wait, how much was it? A 10-year gap in between?
yeah, it was something like it was very
Yeah.
it was very strange.
Yeah.
Setting all of it aside, it was still a magnificent game and a great time, and just absolutely worth your time and your money. 5 had no hope. It may have been an arguably decent video game.
I mean, yeah, I had fun with it, really.
But it can't even get close to any of the rest. It had no business being a Resident Evil game. It made no sense. Everything about it was just like, on a good day, it was mediocre. You know,
It would have been better remembered if it hadn't been a Resident Evil title.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, it had no business being in the line of all those things. And based on what I had seen, neither does 6 really. Like, everything after 4 has kind of just prompted a look further back at 4. 4 was the last. You could argue that they were all either stellar or actually great games. Past 4, it's like, it's okay. What's your problem? It's okay. Okay is not good enough for a mainline Resident Evil game, and it never was. So, I don't know. It's whatever. I'm sure they're fine. And tons of people who like them, I guess. But because they keep making them. They're making what? They made the Revelations, which was...
Yeah, Revelations, which was
Yeah.
on the DS originally, I think, and
Right.
then
And it was
got ported
ported
over.
Got to the consoles, yeah.
And now they're
And they're making
working
another
on
one of those.
Yes.
So which isn't 7, but I guess maybe...
Yeah, might as
maybe
well
it's
be.
7 in the same way that Veronica was 3.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very complicated.
I'm trying to
There's so
remember-
many games in that series.
I'm trying to remember the reaction between Revelations and 6, because all I remember about Revelations was that everyone hated Rachel. The
I don't even know what a Rachel is.
The one with no eyes.
I have no idea what that is.
I
You know what I'm
played
talking about, right?
No, I don't. I played a demo of Revelations on the DS, and that was on the 3DS, and that's about it.
Oh, no,
I
people-
haven't
although-
actually played through the actual game.
Yeah. I gave it a shot, but I was...
Yeah, I don't know. I one of these days, and of all the things in the world, and I'm not saying I want this, but how is it that Resident Evil has gotten away without being completely rebooted? Everything else
Very true.
gets the treatment at some level or
Yeah.
another. I'm not asking.
Devil
for
May
it.
Cry
I'm
isn't as
very-
old as Resident Evil, and
Yeah.
it got a reboot.
That's right. Yeah.
I'm just genuinely curious how that series has avoided that treatment. I don't
Yeah.
know. But whatever. It's been a hugely important series for me. But I couldn't bear it anymore after 5. It just didn't. It wasn't. It was absolutely in that rut of mediocrity where so many games found
Yeah.
themselves at that point in time, and compared directly to 4,
Yeah.
it didn't compare favorably in a single way.
Yeah. I think one of the moments you would dislike was the first time you played Resident Evil when you got the itchy tasty text.
Yeah,
That was a good moment for you,
Yes,
right?
it was.
And then you saw it again in 4, I believe, or I think it was 4 or 5. One of them, they tried to do it again.
They tried to do it again,
It
yeah.
fell so short.
Yeah.
Second time around, man, it was really disappointing. Second time around.
Well, now that we've done with our Resident Evil trip, and we'll get to what James played in just a minute. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we come back, we will have more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. Here is music from Journey. He said. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. And going right to the phones, we got a caller. Les is on the phone. Les, you are on the air, buddy. Hey,
Hey,
how's it going?
that's going all right.
Where are you calling from?
Montgomery.
Oh, okay, local guy. Well, thanks for listening, man. That's great. What's on your mind tonight?
I wanted to talk about the recent story that came out about The Witcher 3.
Was curious if that was going to be what you wanted to talk about. We knew you were going to talk about Witcher 3, but we didn't know exactly what aspect of Witcher 3 you wanted to talk about. And I saw a couple of stories Are you talking about the resolution?
No. There was a recent story last few days about somebody claiming to be a someone in the studio, quote unquote.
CD Projekt Red.
Yeah. And they were talking about crunch time with the game, that like over the year they've been cracking the whips on the developers to get the game made, and also that the game isn't going to live up to the hype of the PR team that they got.
Yeah, I'm seeing this on here where they're saying PR's been in overdrive and there's not a game to back it up, essentially.
PR has been in overdrive.
Unprecedented.
Right.
Well, I mean, they've got a firm date.
I know, yeah.
End of February, which gives them 3 months till gold, I guess. 3 months till they start shipping and pressing discs. Not that they can't continue working. Obviously, we all know there will be large type day one patches. But we've seen the crunch time argument before, or the crunch time discussion, rather, about is it a natural part of game and software design, or design and build of any sort, or is it a symptom of something much worse in the industry? I think you can make an argument for both cases. I think good projects, properly managed projects, have problems, unforeseen circumstances. You have to take detours. You have to roll back certain forms of development, which is going to slow everyone else down. One element of it misses deadline, and there you go. You've got massive, massive problems. You're not doing 50-hour weeks 5 days. You're doing 72-hour weeks 6 days, maybe 7 days.
Sleeping in the studio.
Right. And that's bad.
Yeah.
That's really, 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 really bad. And it is almost always because we're trying to meet an absolute deadline. You're doing something that is inherently artistic, something inherently creative, and you've already firmed up a date. You already say it will be complete, absolutely ready to go on this day. We're saying that it will because we have a plan and we assume it's going to stick to its plan, even though nothing ever has stuck to its plan.
Nope.
So when you add to that the almost unreal levels of hype, and I don't even think this is terribly external hype. I think that CDPR have not been, or whoever's handling the PR, I don't think they've been like bloviating too much. They haven't been pulling like Bungie levels of hype, obviously, because they don't have that kind of money in it. But there's a lot of grassroots hype.
The PR firm for them, I think, is Evolve PR is the name of the firm. Although the person I've been talking to has been directly related with Warner Brothers and CD Projekt Red, not through them. And she's been great. We've been trying to work on getting an interview with somebody from Witcher or CD Projekt Red to talk about Witcher 3 now, and then to talk about it again when it releases. So that's how that's been going as far as the PR is concerned. I've seen 2 presentations, last E3, this E3. Those 2 presentations, I didn't see much of a difference between the two, as though anything had improved or anything like that. But it
doesn't matter.
It didn't look like it was in
presentations
any kind of bad
don't
shape.
matter.
No, they don't.
Presentations do
because
not
it was
matter.
15 minutes of a section that was built for that presentation. Yeah. While they sat there and said, we can go anywhere on this map. They didn't go anywhere on that map.
Right. No, they didn't. And they give. I like
didn't
them.
put it-
I like what they do.
I do too.
They're real champions of what a lot of people want out of gaming.
I'm
now,
mainly speaking in the sense of what a lot of.
But they still pulled out that you can climb that mountain.
Yeah.
And everyone does it as if they're the
Exactly.
only people who have ever done it. Like, these guys don't even collaborate on their lies. And you know what I mean by lies. Like, their salesmanship, they don't even collaborate on it. They almost seem unaware of the fact that the other guy just used that on me, and I couldn't climb his mountain in his game.
Been dealing with that kind of lie
Why would
since
I believe
Fable.
you? Yeah. And I'm not saying that I can't. Maybe I can. But the point is, what they've shown is of no use whatsoever. It can't be trusted, and it can't be argued as fact. It's just a piece of salesmanship. And going back to like Les's original concern, you've got this problem of crunch time, which is always, always, always going to be happening. But there is a very specific and very large type hype machine at work for this game. A game which is doing something in its third iteration that it did not do in its first two. The design of this game as an open world game, as a contiguous open world RPG, following on from a game that was actually a relatively narrowly focused RPG.
And if I remember
Even under
right,
the best of circumstances, there's a reason to wonder whether that's going to be good.
If I remember right, the sequel hit PC first, and then it was later that they ported it over to the 360. I believe that's correct.
Yes.
And now this one is doing day and date with PC.
With all three.
Yeah. And
with the PC and the two current gen consoles.
And the two current gen consoles.
Do you plan on picking up the game?
Yeah, I already got it pre-ordered.
For what system?
PC.
Okay. There is at least no question then that you'll be able to run it at the much sought after 1080p 60 frames per second, most likely. So I don't know. And that is another thing. It's being it's been released on all three platforms simultaneously. That's very much in the news right now. Performance of multi-platform games on the new consoles. So I don't know. I'm not going to pre-order it. I still have to get through 2 before I'm comfortable playing.
I got
3.
through 1 and I haven't gotten through 2.
Yeah.
1 should have been the one, I should have gotten through 2 no problem. And 1 should have been the tough one to get back into, but I started with 1 and now I just haven't gone to put myself into 2 and get it knocked out before 3 gets released. I want to. They've said it doesn't matter.
February is actually not that far away.
Oh my God, it's going to be here quick. As far as that game's concerned,
yeah, no, it's not.
The amount of
It's not
time
far away.
sink you have to put into something like a Witcher game,
Yeah.
your window is getting very, very short to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I respect that they're not saying too much about their game. I do think that in a situation like this, less is maybe a little more. But I don't know. I'm absolutely okay with somebody being really, really cautious about it at this point. But I also just, if I were going to guess, I would say you buy it on the PC. You know you like this kind of game, you're going to be okay. I don't think they're going to let anybody down. They made a big improvement from 1 to 2 in terms of systems. If we agreed that was not a fluke, but instead the result of their prowess, then maybe we can extend them the courtesy of believing that they can make this similar kind of jump from 2 to 3 in terms of the development of their game systems. I don't know. I would argue that if so many other things had not been going on right now, if there were not so many insider leaks, quote unquote, if there was not so much negativity surrounding system specs and how games perform on different
Parody,
systems
stuff like that, yeah.
and people being let down on more than one occasion in more than one way by open world type games or games that are trying to move to encompass too much choice and not enough focus,
Right.
then there wouldn't really be fertile ground for all like discord where Witcher 3 is concerned.
What is your pre-order? You've pre-ordered it already. Have you played the first 2?
Yes, I have.
Okay, so just a big fan of the series to get into it.
Yes.
And so you're just concerned with some of the reports that you've heard, as far as,
Or do they really even bother you that much?
They don't really. I think it brings up, it's an interesting discussion, but they don't really bother me because I feel that the game is already going to be to my expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I guess I'm a little miffed about it. Maybe it's the fanboy in me
Right.
telling me to be miffed at this, but it just kind of feels like a non-starter story that's just something that's like half made up.
Right. I actually think you're probably not far off the mark there. Like I said, if there wasn't so many arguments happening with so many other titles and franchises and studios right now, I don't think anybody would be looking to whip Witcher fans into a lather.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, it's become so hard to tell what's legitimate and what's fake, what's grassroots and what's AstroTurf, that people are looking to cause problems all over the place. I also do understand like legitimate concern. I understand people that just don't pre-order based on that idea. But I don't know. I think you're probably in the clear. I mean, it isn't like you would have. I mean, something horrible would have to happen to a fan of the Witcher series as it is right now for them to just not want to play play the third game. So I suppose the worst thing that could happen is that it's just not very good. Like, that would be way worse than any other thing in the world that could possibly happen. So I don't know. 5 months, right? 4 months?
4 months,
Yeah,
February
yeah.
2015.
Yeah, that's like no time at all, particularly when you're going across the holidays where there's so much else to play.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I doubt very seriously you'll be disappointed, but I hope we can do this all for real again in February and talk about where we are.
Appreciate you calling in, Les.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
Thanks.
you.
And we've only got about 10 minutes before we go to the top of the break here, but if you'd like to get in your comments or questions, 334-272-9228. Now, back over to James.
Elite.
Yeah,
play-
because we
right.
did not get to what you played,
Yeah, right.
so there you go.
I played some Elite. They were the past week. They were really rolling out an awful lot of patches
Yeah.
because they did their big like beta 2 update where they added a
Right,
bunch more
and they had a
systems
bunch
to
of
the game.
problems that you were talking, or at
A
least
whole bunch of problems, and then
Right.
they would patch it, and then they would have some more problems. They've been doing a lot more targeted fixes of really, really smaller issues and rolling those out on a daily or every other day kind of basis. So I played a little bit of that. Tried to get my head around some of the changes that they made, and get comfortable with where I think they're going in the future. The more I mess around with it, the more I look at other things, the more I'm pretty sure that I'm never actually going to have. No, I shouldn't say never. That I'm not going to see the space combat game that I really want out of this batch of things, out of everything everybody's working on right now, from Elite to Star Citizen, Enemy Starfighter, all the way over to whatever that other one is. Like, I don't think I'm going to see the thing. I think that in order to get all of the experiences I want, I'm going to have to experience all of the various things. I'm not looking at another. I'm not about to get another X-Wing or another TIE Fighter. So that's disappointing to me, but it doesn't really matter. I'm still enjoying it. I'm still having an awful lot of fun. So I played some of that. I'm done. I reckon I'm just done with Destiny. I felt I played all my time in it, and I was like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. I have like no hunger, no appetite for this at all. There
were quite a few points at which that game almost got traded in on your part.
Yeah. Still holding on to it.
Still holding on to
but
it, but yeah.
I don't know how much longer.
Nothing about that 10-year plan they got
see.
that's going to make you come back to
No,
it?
it might make. That's what I'm saying. I might very well come back.
Yeah.
But at the moment, I have no interest in what they're doing.
Because
So-
right now you still have the trade-in for $40.
No. I think
Was that
I think
over?
that's already dropped off. But
okay.
that's neither here nor there.
Mm.
So, and then past couple of days, I've been playing Tron 2.0
Hey.
on Steam.
So for the past couple of days, what happened? It might get delayed here, but what? I don't care. It's our own show. Who cares? I noticed somebody said, hey, Disney's releasing games. And my first thought was, let me go back to Split Second and Pure, which are two very good racing games that Black Rock Studios did, by the way. That does not exist anymore. You played Pure, I believe. I'm sorry. There you go.
I got Pure for like somewhere between $5 and $10 at a Best Buy spur of the moment decision, and one of the best purchases I've ever made because I had a lot of fun.
Fantastic
with that
game. So
Really
I
fun
wanted to
with that
see
game.
if those were there, and they were. So I threw them in my wish list. I was like, okay, great, these are here. At the time, though, I didn't see, and I didn't even think about Tron 2.0 being in that list.
I saw the thing about Disney's putting all this Epic Mickey 2 and everything out there.
I know.
And it's like, okay, it didn't even occur to me that this would even be possible. Because we just talked about Tron 2.0
We've talked
was
about
great
it for the past 2 or 3
week.
episodes. Every time we bring up Monolith and Shadow of Mordor, we talk about Tron
we talk
2.0.
about this, and it's one of their. I still think one of their better games out of a list of titles that are absolutely fantastic. But all of a sudden, it was late last night.
Yeah, late last night I was
Dennis texted me.
I was doing my usual thing. I was discovering things on Steam by hitting the all new releases button, which is right there on the front page.
Hey, it worked.
Yeah, hey, I discovered a game. Who would have thought? Steam helped me discover a game. But and there it was. I was just going through trying to. What? What is? No, that's real. Okay.
Yeah.
It often happens that way on the show. We'll talk about something, and then it actually happens the next day or ever how long.
Yeah, after I hit my purchase button,
Yeah.
I'm texting James dude, you gotta go on Steam.
Yeah.
Tron 2.0. So
And it's like
$8?
It's $9.
$9?
It's normally it's on sale. It's going to be $10.
Okay.
All I'm saying, if you have not done it, if you have not played this game, I know we have talked about it for ages. I know that finding a disc copy can be a little bit of a pain, and it still worked perfectly. But there are a number of issues, a number of hoops you have to jump through that you don't anymore with the Steam release. I know that it is. At the moment, it's a little bit of trouble to get it to work correctly on modern systems, but not all that much. There is a guy, he is active currently on the Steam community forums for this game. His mod is the definitive mod to get Tron 2.0 running, not only in widescreen and proper modern HD resolutions, but also to re-enable a lot of the old multiplayer stuff. There is an active, though very small, but active multiplayer scene. So the Steam release is compatible with all of this. It's very difficult to kind of do it because there's a very specific order you have to do things in, and if you screw up, you have to go back to the beginning. But this guy is actively working on his mod. The mod works almost flawlessly. It runs brilliantly because of the nature of the game. It's a Tron game. You really don't see any aging in the graphics at all. Everything still feels, because it's like it's Tron. It's inside computer.
Yeah.
And the game's from 2003. It far predates the more recent movies and games.
Didn't really have to do textures or anything.
No.
Because it was
The art
all-
style is all
yeah.
drawn entirely out of the original
Exactly,
film.
yeah.
So it still holds up. After, 11 years, it still looks like really, really good and feels and sounds perfectly. And I'm surprised. I'll reload a game occasionally to involve myself in the nostalgia and try to remember, did I really like this? Was it just, an element of how I felt at the time? This is a really, really, really good game. Tron 2.0 is a fantastic, fantastic game, as well as being just cute, endearing in all of the ways that it uses computer terminology and everything in a game form. It's highly, highly, highly recommended. Fantastic game. Really, really fun. Much better follow-on to the fiction of the first movie than either the second movie or any other game.
Yeah, really.
Sense. It's fantastic.
It was pretty much the
Highly
only sequel
recommended.
we ever thought we would get from this.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
was it. This
Film
And
or
it was
otherwise.
and not for nothing, it was all you needed.
Yeah.
Because it is very, very good. The guy that does the mod, he's got a 1.1 version out currently that was always designed to work with the retail disc-based release of the game. He's working on a 1.2 version that should be out by the end of the year with much more support for just the installation for the single-player stuff and for the multiplayer stuff. And he went onto the Steam forums and was like, you know what? The Steam release and the possibility of a GOG.com release means I'm going to have to do even more work with the 1.2 version, so I'm going to do an emergency 1.1 alpha version to just make it super simple, one-click, minimal effort setup for the Steam stuff because it's kind of complicated. But it's really straightforward, really, really fairly easy to deal with, just might not make a lot of sense first time through.
Right.
And is absolutely worth it. You can get it running in HD resolutions, get it running on your widescreen. Fantastic game. I would love it if more people played that game. It was so good.
Do you happen to know if it had controller support?
I
don't think so.
Okay. Wasn't sure.
Never occurred to me.
I know. It just hit me
Yeah.
because of playing away from the thing. I
Well,
was
given
like,
the
I wonder if that's
nature, but given the nature of how it was designed and when it was designed,
Right, when you didn't have-
it's not the kind
yeah.
of game that was ever even thinking about.
They built it around keyboard mouse control.
Yeah.
on the PC.
On the PC,
they did
yeah.
never think to add it, even though it did have.
It did
have
have an Xbox.
It had an
release.
X
I didn't know
under a
that.
different title,
Killer
App.
Killer App.
That's right.
which is, by the way, the name
of the mod.
Yeah, Killer. It's actually a better title. To be honest, it's a good title, but yeah, it did have a console release, but the PC version just didn't give any consideration to
Well, nobody was using a
controllers.
controller
Yeah,
then.
nobody was doing that.
It was
Yeah,
all keyboard
yeah.
and mouse back then.
I've still got my box copy. It still sits on my desk.
It does,
there.
doesn't it? Yeah.
Still got
Yeah.
it. Still have it. So, anyway, we're going to have to take a break here. It's top of the hour. When we come back, we will have our interview with Farsight Studios, the makers of the Pinball Arcade. We will be back in just a moment. Here is music from Oblivion, or actually, no, Skyrim. Here on In-Game Chat. We'll be back in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chat. Big moment for me. I've had plenty of them over the years from all the people that we've talked to, but it's about pinball, and as most of you guys know, I am a huge fan of pinball, and I haven't really talked much about Pinball Arcade, with the exception of, some of the Kickstarters that they've done. I have mentioned them during my Silver Ball Sundays, because there's a distinct difference between what Zen Studios does, which you've heard on our show many times before, and what Pinball Arcade does, or Farsight Studios. Zen creates tables and gets licenses and creates tables like that. However, Pinball Arcade will digitize actual real-world tables that have existed in the past, and some that are, or I'm sure that will be coming soon, and that sort of thing. But they take real-world tables and they digitize them for use. And on the line with us right now, we've got Bobby King, who is the VP of Farsight Studios. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, Scott. Thanks for having me on.
Well, we really appreciate it, man. I've actually been trying for a while to get you guys on, and schedules haven't worked out and stuff like that. It's been kind of confusing. I've tried to catch you at E3 or at a PAX or something like that, and not you specifically, but just Farsight, because really what I've wanted to do for a very long time now is thank you guys for doing what you do.
Oh, well, thank you for being a fan of our game. We love bringing back these tables for fans of pinball.
Yeah, it's always been, pinball has been, gosh, I'm trying to remember the age that I became a fan of pinball. It had to have been when I was around 14 or 13, something like that. I remember the first table that hooked me, and that was Funhouse, which was one of the draws whenever I saw Pinball Arcade, to be like, oh my God, they've got Funhouse. That's when it was like, I've got to do this. I've got to get this and play it. So it was originally the disc version. I believe it was for the Xbox 360 that I first played that there, and then I moved on. My main platform of choice now is the iPad. With a close second being Steam, so that I can stream my games and stuff. But yeah, it was Funhouse. However, I played pinball before then. My family actually owned a table that I cannot remember the name of. They owned a table, and I used to have to get a box to stand up on so I could just basically slap the flippers. That's all I ever did.
Right.
But yeah, but I played that at a much younger age. It was a Viking themed table, but man, I can't remember it. I'm actually getting that table back because I plan on doing a full virtual pinball cabinet. That table doesn't work anymore, and I'm gonna actually gut it and create something I can play Pinball Arcade on and everything else, and just have tables and an actual table where I can play multiple tables on it. But anyway, welcome to the show. If it's pinball topics, I go way off on a rant here, so I'm going to try not to do that. I'm going to stick to questions. We'll start first with the Kickstarter. Where are we at so far with that Addams Family Kickstarter?
So we're looking for $97,640, and we're currently just shy of 107,000. So it looks like we're going to fund. Anyone can back out at the last second, so we're a little worried about the potential of that happening. There's like a couple of big backers in there, but I think we're safely over now. So we're feeling pretty good about it.
Well, that is fantastic to hear. I mean, obviously, going to get funded, and it actually ends on Sunday, correct?
Yep, October 12th.
Right. I'm a backer of that table. It's Addams Family. Anytime that you guys have done tables, I missed the first one, which I think was Twilight Zone. But from Terminator 2, Star Trek: The Next Generation, and now Addams Family. I have been a contributor on because I do want to see these tables get made, and it's a big deal for you guys, especially on these movie licenses or television licenses, because you have to. Everything is licensed, like every little thing. Actor voices, actor representation, music. Everything has a license that is a part of the stuff you have to secure in order to recreate the table. How difficult does that become?
Well, it depends on the table. It really does. Sometimes a lot of those clearances are within one license. For example, the Star Trek Next Generation, all those different actors were handled by CBS, so that was relatively easy. For Addams Family, it's the Addams Family license, the movie. From Paramount, it's the Addams Family Foundation license, and then it's the different actors' licenses. So, and those actor license clearances are for their image and for the audio. So yeah, it's a lot of agreements you have to get in place, and they all want to. And you can't really, agree to anything until you know that everyone's going to be on board, because we can't do some licenses, not others. And this is all on top of having the table license, because we need the table license from Williams or Bally or Stern or Gottlieb just to get started.
Now, for people who don't know, how do you go about doing the digitization? There's actually a great video. If you go to the Pinball Arcade's YouTube channel, there's a great video about how it's done. But what's the steps that have to go through whenever you want to digitize a table?
All right. Well, as soon as we identify which table we want to do, we go out and we buy a real one, and then we get it here, and then a couple months before we're going to release it, we take it apart, and the artists really have the first go at it internally, and that's modeling the different parts, taking photo reference for textures, for the play field, and various things on the table. Then our ROM emulation has to be done before that for the chipset. So luckily we already have that now in place for most of the major chipsets. So then it's a matter of tying in the code and all the different switches for that particular table with the emulation so that our table will run. And that's being done on the programming side, while on the art side, they're creating all the different assets to be in the game. And that's the visuals as far as what you see, and also the collision, which is a 3D mesh, so that the ball knows what it's reacting to and bouncing off it and triggering. So, and then I guess once we have that, then there's a lot of fine tuning. There's a lot of consultation with pinball experts to make sure it plays and feels right. So yeah, it's a pretty in-depth process that we've been doing now for 52 tables, I think. So we've got it down pretty well.
Yeah, I saw a chart recently that you guys have like 7 of the top 10 tables or top 20. I can't remember what the number was.
Probably 7 of the top 10.
I think it was like 7 of the top 10 tables of all time, or at least voted on, and you guys have them already either already or on the way, with Addams Family being added to that list. Just going back to the fact that you have to buy a table, the enthusiast side of me wants to know: are you just looking for the table, so it doesn't matter what kind of shape it's in, or are you trying to find something of quality when you buy one?
We're looking for a good quality table. We don't want something that's, well, mainly for the photo reference. It needs to be pretty.
Right.
We don't have to do too much cleanup on the photos. But then once it's back together, the gameplay has to be, pretty close to, not like right out of the box, but a pretty solid playing table.
Moving on to some of the questions that I got from some forums around. Let's start with, here's one that I'm very interested in. Are any of the tables that are in Season 1 and Season 3 licensed for a limited time period or apt to expire without notice?
We will definitely not do it without notice, but yes, all of our licenses have terms, and most of those terms are 3 years. So once we release it, you can expect us to have it on sale for at least 3 years, and hopefully we'll extend each of the licenses we have so far. One that we might have some problem with is the Terminator 2 license. That's a 2-year license, so that's just past its 1-year anniversary. So sometime in 2015, we might have to pull it from being sold, but we're gonna work on it.
Portrait mode in the console versions, is that coming?
Probably not anytime soon. That's kind of low priority for us. It's just really difficult with a console game to get them to agree to have us do something in portrait.
Oh, so it's on the end of it's on the end of the console makers like Sony and Microsoft?
Yeah, you'd have to turn your TV on its side. And there's so much stuff on the consoles that has to be done in landscape, right?
Right.
So you'd have to be turning it left. And so I haven't even broached the subject with him, but I know of all the things we're working on, that's kind of a lower priority. You can do portrait mode in the PC version and Mac.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to leave it at that for now.
Is the Wii U version still releasing?
We're still working on it. It's actually surprisingly, it's about 90% done. It's just there's a few more hoops to get through, and there's some technical issues we need to get done. And we were really hoping to have it out for Christmas this year. It looks like it's probably going to slip into next year, but we have not given up on it. It's just a matter of getting it finished, and we were hoping to get some sort of distribution deal with a retail publisher, like we do for Xbox One and for PS4. But we don't have that yet in place, so you can look for it in 2015, and I think one way or the other we should release digitally.
Will you ever introduce more camera views?
We could. There have been talks of implementing a user-defined camera, so that one of the right now 5 camera choices you have, we could bump it to 6, and that 6th one would be exactly where you want to set it. So I think that's more likely than adding as a different camera view.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
We set. Yeah, so I think it'll be something more that the user creates.
What do you guys find are the most popular platforms?
I can tell you that iOS was way ahead of Android when we first launched. And then iOS has been on a steady, slight decline, while Android has been strong and steady. So Android is now a little bit ahead, I think, of iOS. Steam, PC, when we released on PC, we were very surprised that it's a very strong platform for us. And we also do well on PlayStation. But our bread and butter, I think, is mobile when it comes to total, customers and either paying or not paying.
Oculus Rift support for the PC version. Any plans for that?
We've messed around with it a little bit. It's not on any current schedule, but it's something that we've talked about. So yes and no, I guess is the right answer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if you were aware, but somebody messed around with it and got Oculus Rift to work. Yeah,
I did. Yeah, I saw that.
And in that vein, the same person asked, will you guys be reintroducing the virtual arcade like you had with the Williams collection, where you can walk around?
We thought about that. There's actually we were contacted by the Samsung guys and their virtual reality device on mobile, I believe, and that was the thought there was to bring back the arcade, and it'd be a lot of work. That's the question. Like we're so busy with what we're working on, whether or not we can bring back the arcade and have it be something that you can add on to, and the tables that you own are there and not the other ones. I think that'd be very cool.
Any updates on cab support and possible release date for the PC version?
No. We were talking about it actually just yesterday. Cabinet-wise, we're not 100% sure with what we're going to do. And I know I've been saying that for a year now, but it's true. And there's a couple, I guess, business decisions and legal issues that we have to work through and figure out what we want to do before we make an announcement. So I really can't say much.
360 and Xbox One releases, can we expect to see that this year?
Yep. Well, yeah, I think you can. Xbox One is been submitted, and if it's not in test, it goes into test very shortly for certification. And Xbox 360, we still are working through some bugs. We kind of should have actually had it in there a couple weeks ago, but we've been working on this other small project that I'm going to tell you about soon that I think has pushed back a little bit of the bug fixing we needed to get done to submit it, but it should be out by the end of this year. We can only hope.
Follow-up to that question, will the Xbox One version receive a physical retail version like the PS4? And if so, what will be included on that, or do you know?
Yeah, it'll be season 2 is what it's going to be. It's going to be the launch pack and season 2. So there'll be 23 tables on it.
Now that the first Data East table is in the bag, is the large majority of the rest of the Data East collection troublesome for you guys, seeing as that they're pretty much all based on films or rock bands and not really highly regarded to warrant a Kickstarter to bring them to the Pinball Arcade? With this in mind, will we only see the 2 to 4 Data East tables that aren't based on film or music in the game?
No, we're working on some license deals that would bring us more.
Would you have to use Kickstarter in order to do that, or
Maybe not.
depending? I guess you're already 10 grand over, so I guess that's helpful, huh?
Yeah, it's very helpful. The Adams Family is by far the most expensive one we've done. When the license fees are around for a total of like 20 to 40,000, then we haven't run Kickstarters. It's when it gets a little higher than that we do, because we want to make sure that we're making a profit. And it's good to have the PR. We want people to know about our game. So the Kickstarter has been good in that regard too.
What was the first pinball machine that you ever played?
The first one I remember playing, believe it or not, was T2. I'm not sure if it was the first one exactly, when I was a teenager. And that's the first one I liked playing a lot. It was at a bowling alley when I was a kid. I just don't remember exactly what the first one was.
And what's your favorite table?
My favorite table is actually Creature from the Black Lagoon. It's one of the ones I have in my office, and I love playing it.
Yeah, speaking of that, so all these tables that you had to buy for all of how many tables now are in the pinball arcade?
Yeah, Diner was our 50th. So we've got 2 more, so 52 will be, the 52nd one will be released tomorrow.
So technically, you've got 52 tables in your office. Not your office specifically, but at Farsight Studios, you've got 52 tables. Do they just, do you just rotate them out every now and again, and you're sitting in your office, just like, let's get Black Lagoon out, put in Harley Davidson or something like that? Who gets dibs on having what tables in their office, or what happens to those?
Who gets dibs? I don't know. The ones that are working the best, that someone hasn't claimed for their office, are all put in the conference room. And if people want to play pinball, they do it there. There's a lot of pinball tables also in like our old conference room, and they're all kind of like in a state of repair. And then there's another area in the garage where there's a few down there, because we honestly are running out of room to have it in the building where people work. But yeah, I mean, I love having a Monster Bash and a Creature. I had a Scared Stiff in my office last year, but we participate in Kamikaze, which is a comic trade show down in L.A.
Yeah.
And we're part of Elvira's booth, so we bring our Scared Stiff and our Party Monsters down there for the booth. So when they took it, they gave me Monster Bash, and I haven't asked for Scared Stiff back.
What else can we expect to see in Season 4?
What else can you expect to see in Season 4?
I'm guessing Adam's Family is going to be is a Season 4 release.
It'll definitely be in Season 4.
Okay.
I have not announced too many tables yet. So Phantom of the Opera is going to be the first table.
Mm-hmm.
And let me see. I've hinted pretty strongly about Earthshaker. We've got that in our office now, so that won't be too long before we're doing that table. And Starship Troopers is also a table that was part of a license deal that we signed that is going to be somewhere in Season 4.
Any chance for a light level adjustments on the new dynamic lighting scheme?
It's certainly possible. We actually had a slider in there for a trade show, so it's an option that we could put in.
Yeah, he says that sometimes the lighting scheme, it makes it impossible sometimes to see the ball's position when areas on the tables are sometimes unrealistically dark.
Yeah, it's the ambient when it's dark. Really what the issue is that even in our dynamic lighting, with every light casting, light, the light doesn't carry as far as it should because of performance issues. We can't have 150 lights all intermingling their light sources. So their light carry for the smaller lights isn't as far as it should be, and so it would light up a little bit more. So one issue is we want to improve that, but two, including a slider for lighting is something that we'll consider.
What's your dream license? And have you already hit the dream license with tables that you've already got, or is there some holy grail out there that you want?
Yeah, Holy Grail was Adam's Family.
I would think so. At first I thought it was Twilight Zone, and then of course after that got done, it's like, well, Adam's Family's next on the list, and of course that made it. Yeah,
I've been working on that one for longer.
I mean, personally for me, it's likely going to be extremely tough given the licenses, but it's the Indiana Jones table.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's maybe my next one. That is probably the most difficult one that I really, really want.
Yeah. And I have fond memories of that table. It was at the movie theater I used to work at, and so every time we would close up, I would go down there and spend quite a lot of money just playing that Indiana Jones table. Had a lot of fun doing that. So would love to see that come, and I hope that's in the future at some point.
We will be taking a shot at it.
Yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. It's really great talking to you. I want to talk about the Addams Family Kickstarter again, though. I know it ends on Sunday. As far as I know, you've yet to announce any stretch goals, correct?
Correct.
I
I
know you
was
teased
working
on a couple.
Yeah, I was working on one, and I can't really say too much about it because they're just licensing. The progress is usually slow, so I was very hopeful that we could do some sort of deal to get Christopher Lloyd image back on here.
Yeah, you don't get his image, or I don't think his voice is in it. You just can't get his image, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's we're still working on it, and the money that we go over will be contributed towards what we're working on. And we'll announce that here soon, but I can't be very specific. But it's another license table that people are going to want.
Well, I'm very intrigued. Thank you very much. Well, that's it. That's all I can think of, and I really appreciate your time. Here, you'd mentioned an announcement.
Yeah. What I was mentioning before, when it comes to the deal we did with Sony Pictures, that brought us Dracula license and Starship Troopers, we also got the license to create a Ghostbusters table.
Oh, to create one?
To create one, right. So, and just a little over a month ago, they asked us if we could get a table out for Halloween. So we didn't have time to create one from total scratch.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've taken Haunted House and modded it, and it's really cool. I mean, I'm really impressed with how the guys rallied and really worked a lot of overtime to get this done. But it's something that we're going to try to get out here on iOS and Android and probably PC sometime in October. So something to look forward to. It's not going to be part of the Pinball Arcade. It's going to be a standalone app, and it's going to be free, and you get tokens. Every day we'll give you some tokens. And if you want to download the Pinball Arcade, if you don't already have it, then you'll get them at twice as fast a rate. And if you want to buy more tokens, you can. So it's a little different way to monetize it. We're going to experiment with, and we're doing it with this first game that's not part of the Pinball Arcade, but it's using our engine, and it uses a lot of the cool stuff from Haunted House as far as the layout of the geometry. So I think people are really going to like it. I think we did a good job.
Well, that is wonderful to hear. I really that took me by surprise. Number one, you got Ghostbusters, and I thought there hasn't been a Ghostbusters table, and then you said you have to create one, and I thought that's really cool. Now, you're doing this just so that you can get it out by Halloween, but if you've got that license, can you actually go back and really create one? Not based on Haunted House, but like just totally, completely from scratch. Do you still have that permission, I suppose, to do that for later release?
If the first table does well, I'd be surprised if we couldn't do that.
Okay.
Technically, our license is only for one table.
Right.
But we'll see.
All right. Well, that is fantastic news. And Bobby, once again, I appreciate you being with us on the show. It is great talking to you. And again, my thanks to everybody who puts in the hard work over at Farsight to do these tables. It's seriously, when I saw that Funhouse was in there, it brought me back all the way back to when I was 11, 12, however old I was. And I can remember where I played it. It was in Helen, Georgia. I remember everything about how addicted I became just to playing Funhouse. And so as soon as I saw that, all those memories came back, and it was all over again with my love for pinball. So that's a big thing that you guys were a part of, and thank you so much for doing that and making these and continuing to do them, especially when big walls like licenses block your path. I'm really grateful for things like Kickstarter so that we can get over those hurdles and make those tables happen. So thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure making these games, and it really is a treat, I think, for us to work and be privileged to recreate these great tables and to bring joy to so many people who haven't played them in so long. So yeah, it's a great product that we make, I think, and it's our pleasure to make it.
Well, thank you again, and we will be right back with more of In-Game Chat in just a moment. And welcome back to In-Game Chats. That is music from Last of Us. Final segment here before we call it a night. And I don't know, what's everybody looking forward to playing this coming week? James had mentioned that the WoW's got their...
The 6.0 patch.
6.0 patch. Getting ready for...
The pre-release patch for Warlords of Draenor. It's
what does that
coming out on Tuesday.
mean? Like, there'll be... What does that mean?
What doesn't it mean?
See, I don't know.
Every time an expansion pack comes out, they drastically change the game systems. They change the nature of a lot of the mechanics. They add in a lot of new mechanics. They may add in or take out animations. They may make updates to the graphical engine. They make sweeping changes to the landscape or the architecture. The kinds of things that are too big to see deposited into the game on the launch day of the expansion pack.
Okay.
So what they do is they have a very, very, very large patch which sets up whatever story or lore changes they're going to make, whether you even believe that stuff makes any sense anymore. And they lay in all of the new effects and all of the new systems they've been testing, and give it kind of a month to cook on the live servers before they actually do the expansion. And the expansion, because it usually involves an entirely new area, all that happens anymore, at least, is on the day of the expansion, they just flip a switch. The servers don't even restart anymore, as a matter of fact. You just, okay, you can now go to the place. So, but there are a lot of really, really big changes they're making this time around. There's a major stat squish, is what they're calling it.
I heard about numbers getting smaller.
Right.
And everything.
As an RPG, an MMO type thing goes on and on and on. You add levels, you add higher versions of gear, your item levels, and your stats, all of your health, your mana, your stamina, your damage numbers. They go up and up and up and up and up and up and up. They inflate forever. And it becomes very difficult to manage those numbers. So they're taking this opportunity to do a stat squish, to eliminate a lot of the secondary statistics from a character, to make the game much more simple, much more streamlined, and to kind of draw things down to the kind of stat distributions that were there 6-8 years ago.
To give somewhat of an example of the stat squish, let's just say in Burning Crusade, if you hit someone and it was a crit, it would be for, what, 2,000-3,000?
Yeah, and Burning Crusade was about 3 years, 2 to 4 years after the game launched.
Now, on a Warlock, crit would be probably about 500,000.
Yeah, potentially, depending on where you... Like, your damage
so you
numbers
you could reduce it by several exponents and still have the same effect overall.
Right, and it is relative to everything in the game. Everything in the game is suffering
and it would get a little frustrating when you'd have like mods that would show you what your damage is doing. You need to know, and all you see is just huge numbers popping everywhere. You can't even see the screen because there's so many 6-7 digit numbers.
Right, and they're making they're really, really, really... I don't know if they're trying again to make this an opportunity for people to get on board. Like we've said in the past, they're giving you, if you buy into the game and buy the current or about to be current expansion pack, they'll just give you a level 90 character. Just here. Have this. There's no sense in you trying to catch up to your friends. Just have this.
And the max level's 100, so you basically get to play through.
So you will
Warlords.
start, and you will start where all of your friends start.
Okay.
but by reducing the complexity of a lot of the characters and reducing the complexity of a lot of the stats, it's making it
It seems like it not only make it more friendly for like even newcomers, but like people who hadn't played in a while
and have missed out on a lot of the cumulative changes.
Yeah. Or if you're starting a new character, you have characters established and you're starting a new one you haven't played before. This will make it easier for you to get into that class. So remember, you were talking about I'll have so many skills and all this.
Yeah, it's too much, and they're getting rid of things that they used to use to as kind of a skill barrier, right? Can you juggle your numbers as well as you can juggle your skill keys, right? Your hotkeys? That's all just kind of going away. They're putting it all behind the scenes. They're getting rid of hit rating. They're getting rid of, I think, crit. They're getting rid of a lot of that secondary stuff, so you don't have to worry about balancing it against anything else. You simply, here's a piece of gear. We're back to having just, a couple of primary stats like intellect and stamina, and then maybe a single secondary stat. And it is, for more reasons than just nostalgia, it's a much more pleasant way to interact with something. It is, at a glance, either a better piece of gear or a worse piece of gear, not something that has to be calculated.
Yeah, you're not
using an online tool to determine whether or not it can be reforged and manipulated into being an upgrade. That had just gotten out of hand. So they're trying in various respects to get the game back in hand. So
you talk about stats and patches. Something we haven't talked about is Destiny's recent situation with stats. The Iron Banner.
Yeah,
I want to talk to Nate because I don't know have you jumped into the Iron Banner?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, and the Iron Banner, like something we should point out the basic PvP in this game, the basic thing is supposed to modulate all of your gear, all of the defense on your armor, and the damage component of your weapons, and bring everyone, regardless of level or gear,
to a level
to an even playing field.
Right. Yeah.
The Iron Banner is a special event that throws all of that away. Look, if you want fairness, here's all the rest of the PvP. But for you guys that have been digging after the very best gear, and you've been putting together a kind of a gear catalog of a specific type so that your character plays the way you want it, tuned as best you can make it, here's the Iron Banner, where all of this stuff is supposed to count. It's the full beans, man. Yeah. It's everything all the way. Here you go. And it took all of minutes
to find out that's
just not the case. That it's
how have you experienced it? Have you noticed that? Have you seen that? What's been your experience with it? Because I'll tell you mine real quick. I've been doing a ton better in the Iron Banner than I ever did in regular PvP.
See, well, to me, I've of the 7 or 8 PvP games, regular PvP that I played, I won them all. The team I was on was always good. And it's been about 50-50. Sometimes my team's been bad, sometimes, and that's really what's been the factor for me.
It's been complete opposite for me in that direction. My experience in the regular PvP mode was horrible. I know, it was rarely, if ever, was I going to win, much less come out on top or anything, or have what I would consider as a good game. Even if we lost, but I still got quite a few kills or something like that, I would consider it good for me. I'm not good at PvP. Just in general, I'm not good at it. But for whatever reason, doing Iron Banner, man, I've been so much better than I ever was.
I will say, Iron Banner-wise, I feel like I play better, but whether I play good or not doesn't matter if my team sucks.
Because it's based on control.
Exactly. So,
it is not the control is a capture point game.
Yeah.
And so the winner isn't decided by how many kills you got on the other team. It's how long you held a control point.
Exactly.
Well, it's actually a points tally.
Well, yeah,
and it's however you reach that points tally. It's a points maximum.
But it's based on.
It's how the points are actually contributed.
Yeah, because what happens is, say you have 2 bases and the other team has 1, you get more points per. I think it's like
kill
per second. Well, no, you're getting points from the bases as well.
Okay.
That you're holding.
Right, but it isn't just the capture kills actually do count.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. But you want to hold more bases while you're killing. My issue is when it comes to PvP, people care a lot about their kill death ratio. I'm more about winning. I don't care about if I die. So I'll have no problem trying to run into places, take it out. and it'll just usually just be me while everyone's just kind of sitting back there
Right.
like, oh, I don't want to die. I'll just sit back here. And I'm like,
Callie Synthis pointing out correctly that the Iron Banner is just the same Crucible with a different reputation grind. It's a new reputation, just like we had the Queen's Wrath event for a while. Now go do this and do these bounties for this person, for this rep, for this item. And the point is that, yes, it actually was sold as there is no modulation of any of your stuff. The gear you've been putting together is going to matter. And if that were true, a level 4 with a starter weapon and starter gear simply would not have a chance against a level 30 with an exotic. It wouldn't exist. And that would be fair. That would honestly be completely fair, because the entirety of the rest of the Crucible, of the rest of the PvP environment, is modulated for fairness.
Yeah.
I was, not that I wanted to participate, but I was perfectly happy knowing that, or expecting, that the Iron Banner would be dominated by level 30s with raid gear. I was totally okay with that, because why not? Give them something worth... the PvP guys in particular don't have a raid. You know what I mean? They don't have an ultimate activity as an expression of what they
Of their
consider to be
accomplishments,
of their accomplishments and what they like the most about the game. Iron Banner was supposed to be that. And whether or not they've stuck to the letter of their declaration, right? Oh, your gear does count, but only
20%.
Only like 20% or 2%.
That's what their guy. At least that's what their update said. Is like 80% of Iron Banner is skill based. 20% is your stats.
Yeah. Well, that is not in the spirit of what you sold.
That's crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
you should reverse that. 80% should be towards your gear, and 20% should be leveled to skill.
But again, because it is a very specific playlist, it is not changing the rules for all of PvP. It is giving these guys a limited amount of time to enjoy the game in a very specific way. How a person can have a problem with that, I don't know. If you're not decked out in the best gear, I am sorry. But this is about people who have been grinding that, and I have no interest in this, by the way.
Yeah.
But I understand what it's like to be sold an idea and then to feel that when you've already been sort of disenfranchised, right? There's a purely luck-based upgrade path if you go only PvP. But it's not. You can still grind through your faction, but that doesn't get you beyond a certain point. There is no ultimate expression of what that gear has done for you. For the PvE guys, that's the raid. You got to be, at a logical minimum of level 28. You have to have decent enough gear to have gotten to level 28. You should probably have a weapon of a certain type with certain layout of secondary properties so that it is best in a PvP environment. That's been in open discussion now for weeks and weeks and weeks. The PvP guys have not had that. So it's just another stumble,
Yeah, I mean, I would think they would want a mode where your gear matters, because that incentivizes the PvP players to go up and try that PvE content.
Right.
That
It
is
actually
so highly touted.
It's a good point. That actually incentivizes a natural desire to grind. I want to be able to compete in the Iron Banner the next time it comes up in 2 weeks, right? Not just the arbitrary grind to get rep with a guy to get an armor shader and a funny thing to hang off your belt. Like,
well, Callie brought up something that I was about to bring up. There's no in WoW. You say you join a battleground and then you leave mid match or you go AFK.
Right.
You get a 10 or 15 minute. You can't.
You
join
get a
again.
debuff. Yeah, you get a. Something like that.
You're
10
not
or
allowed to
15
join
minute
again for
deserter.
like 10 or 15
You get a
minutes.
deserter debuff.
Exactly, and I think that's something Destiny needs, because you can just quit.
It's a little bit. It's always been kind of a. There's always been a really shaky relationship with that, with punitive stuff in an online game, because a lot of times you lose your connection or you're booted from the server for whatever reason, and you'll still get that debuff. And it's like, that's not fair. However, in general, it does disincentivize it to the point that, that's a big deal. But Destiny doesn't have that, and Iron Banner is excessive in the fact that it doesn't award reputation for losers.
Yeah, you get nothing if you lose.
So why stick around if you're
If
losing?
you're on a losing team, yeah.
And
I
so
don't
as soon as that
understand this.
starts
I don't
happening,
understand this from them. They have a huge history
No idea.
with building,
Yeah.
maintaining, and theoretically understanding why this type of PvP works the way it does. It's well documented. The history of this kind of thing is 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, to me,
Now.
you know,
It's getting a re-release, for God's
Yeah.
sakes, and people are happy about. People are excited about. Halo always had that reputation of, like, I don't know, 50%. The numbers are probably skewed, but 50% interested in, hey, Halo story, yay. 50% were like, ooh, maps, multiplayer, yay.
Yeah.
Probably more so on the multiplayer part than it ever
no,
was on the.
not even a probable.
but,
Yeah.
and, you know, the other thing is, you know, them being involved with Activision, and you know, Activision and Blizzard are the same
They do it,
company
yeah.
stock wise. You know, wouldn't you know Blizzard be a phone call away of getting information? About this is-
I still contend
we've
that
talked
the
about this.
relationship
Yeah.
between Bungie and Activision is kind of laissez-faire. I think that I think the nature of that relationship, because of where Bungie spent their time previously, was like, okay, you guys are the rainmakers, and you insist. You want control over your property. You want control over your thing. Fine, you have it. We'll publish, we'll distribute, we'll do all of that stuff. But my suspicion is that Activision isn't as heavily involved as people would think naturally, given the history of Activision's involvement with the titles they produce. I still think this is more Bungie than anything. So, I don't know. It's just a weird misstep. It's like, how
I know.
your game is like, what is it? It's like 5 weeks now?
And every week
Almost.
they have had a misstep.
Yeah.
Every
I feel
single
so
week
bad.
they've had a misstep. The Queen's Bounty was great. We thought, hey,
Yeah.
this is a good thing, and then they screwed up, and it was they nerfed it, whatever you want to call it.
What did they do?
They killed the incentive for you to even do it.
It only gave 2 useful pieces of gear. We thought that it was going to be designed to be an entry-level access point for getting gear to move you up through the level 20.
Yeah, kind of make
stuff.
you like more able to do raids and such.
Yeah, as a springboard for doing more difficult stuff. And fine, you get a helmet and you get a chest piece, right? And that's 2 of your 4 pieces. But what's more important than an actual piece as an upgrade are the shards that you get from breaking down good gear that you don't need, and then reinvest in the gear you do need to make it better. That is critical. And that's what everybody was using the Queen's Bounty for. Just run one and then get your shard. Run one, get your shard. And then reinvest it into your own gear. Everything's great. And they were like, oh, no, we don't want you doing that.
Yeah, they took the shards away.
They took the shards away.
and I mean, some of the missions, you know, was a 20, 25-minute mission. It's not like
And
it was
some of the
quick.
missions were
I mean,
2-minute missions. It made no sense. It doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. It's
Yeah.
I mean,
it just doesn't make
do
a
you
lot
not
of
want
sense.
people to enjoy your game? Is that
Well,
what they're
I
going?
mean, to be fair, and I don't know why, I'm not going to try to dissect the psychology of why people play Destiny. Believe me, I was hammering on it every day for about 2 weeks. I reached
Look
the
at
end
me.
of my
I've
own
got
thing.
Shadow of Mordor sitting there, and
Yeah.
I'm still playing.
No, but
I'm
that's
still
that's
hopping
my
on to
point.
play
A
Destiny.
ton of people are playing the game. They released some stats to that effect and said, look, the concurrent player numbers are still pretty high and it's really good. But I think what this foreshadows, and they are not alone in having had trouble with this, it's really hard to get your culture as a company and shift that towards a different style of game. And this is very different to anything they've done before. So I'm not claiming they're doing an easy thing poorly. I'm claiming they're having a hard time doing something that is very, very hard. But what do you think is going to happen the minute somebody reaches the end of their own personal
goal?
Yeah, that's it. They're going to disappear.
Yep.
That player is going to vaporize. And once a player walks away from your game, it's very, very, very hard to get them to come back. If getting new content, if getting something worth coming back to costs extra money.
Yep.
It's really hard. It was one of the reasons why, by comparison, I always bring this up, but it's one of the reasons why something as silly as Mass Effect 3's multiplayer had such a huge player base for so long. They never charged extra for maps. They never charged extra for modes, or for extra characters, or for new classes, or for anything. You could come back a year later. You could go back now, and you could still get everything that had been added. Patch the game up, get in there, start running matches with people, get your little things that drop, open them up, hope to get some good gear and some new classes, and there you go. There was no reason not to come back. that's not going to be the case. People are going to walk away from Destiny, and they're going to have a reason to want to look at it again in December. But that reason's going to cost what? $20?
Something
The
like
DLC,
that.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's troublesome, and it's a little weird. And how many do you think? This is entirely guesswork, but how many people that are playing this on the Xbox One are going to stick around? Not that we'll see the publication of it, but what do you think the Xbox One player numbers are going to look like once the Master Chief Collection comes out?
Right.
Anybody cares enough about Destiny or Bungie to be playing Destiny on the Xbox One is probably going to be really, really excited to go back to
Halo.
a polished version of what they consider to be the most formative, the most important console multiplayer that's ever existed.
I would almost consider getting one.
It looks
Almost.
impressive. It looks really, really, really impressive. I think they've done a big thing.
And we
with it.
found out we found out last week that Halo 1 and 2 get online co-op.
Yeah.
Whereas before, I don't think either of them had online co-op.
No.
They had
it's
split
local.
screen.
Yeah, local.
Did one
Yeah.
have local co-op?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
See, I don't know. I played it on the PC.
Did you
didn't
see
have
the
it there.
amount of achievements total?
Oh,
for the
no,
game?
no.
It's like 405. And I'm, did you ever see a couple months ago the guy who got has every single achievement so far, like for every single game?
Oh, wow.
I'm like, good luck with
Oh,
doing that one
man.
because
That's nauseating.
you have about 405. You're about to. I can't remember how it was 400 something, but still, just seeing that number of achievement. Like,
I'm looking forward to it because it'd be one of the first Xbox One games that I actually buy. I'm not kidding. I do not.
Yeah, because you have the system. You haven't actually bought any yet?
No, remember I got some from Microsoft
Yeah, 'cause
whenever I
you
had
had-
the busted Xbox One. They gave me some.
Oh yeah.
Loco Cycle was given to me from the guys at Twisted Pixel. That's it. The money I put into that machine was the money that I spent to buy it. That's it. I have not bought a game for that system yet.
Wow.
Although Harmonix Fantasia is coming out, and I'm just a big fan of Fantasia, and so that'll be one that I'll get before Master Chief Collection. But yeah, so those two. Ooh boy, Christmas come early.
And that's how long? Almost a year.
Almost a year. 2 games.
Oh man.
By the way, almost a year, still no Redbox stuff. Redbox guys, get on that, please.
Ugh.
I know.
I don't know. There's got to be something else going on there. I don't think
Yeah, the PS4 isn't in there either.
No, I think that
I'm
there's
just saying the next current gen consoles.
given what we've heard about, I guess what you would call the default rate or the theft rate or whatever on things that happen out of Redbox, it's enormously high. I think they've probably calculated that they can't take a loss, the loss that they would incur on the current gen stuff.
Do you remember way back when the Metal Gear Solid, the little, the demo? Remember when I got it for
Ground
it was
Zeroes.
like $17, or I got it really cheap. I had realized that it had the Redbox code on it.
Oh, really?
And
Oh, yeah.
I was like, I don't really know what I'm supposed to do, but
Oh well.
I mean, it's not my fault,
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, you can. I believe there's no way to actually. I don't think there's any way to select it, but I believe if you don't return whatever it is, whatever the Redbox item is, after a certain point in time, they make an effort to charge whatever card it was attached
They
to.
do, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if it was attached to a legitimate card, they got their money.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's an honest secondary sale. If it was one of those
Those Visa
scammy,
gift cards.
yeah, like really, really nasty kind of gift card things, then. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really much appreciate that whole concept, and I wish that their thing worked a little bit better,
I don't
so that
either.
they
As
could.
somebody who's been a victim of that, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't either.
I wish it worked better for them because I wish I had that direct and immediate access. I just don't, or I wish that something worked better at GameFly. It's somebody somewhere was actually. I feel like I've gone backward in rentals. I feel like the world has gotten worse since Blockbuster went out of
I was
business.
about to say, do we need Blockbuster again?
Well, I mean, now
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it worked for us.
I would love to have Blockbuster
We had
back.
we had
I hated when it
Yeah,
left.
we had a Blockbuster right down the street. We would walk in there every Tuesday. What's the new thing? You got the new thing? Yeah, here it is. It's right here. Walk out with it. Play. Like it was fantastic. I didn't have to wait for something to come in the mail. If it was going to come in the mail, it's probably not shipped until 3-4 days later.
That's how we would use Blockbuster. We would go there
Yeah.
to get our GameFly games before GameFly.
yeah.
They got it.
It was-
so.
Obviously PlayStation Now is not going to fill the gap
No.
in any way that we dreamed it might. And it's still a really, really important gap for people. That gap between the hype and the useless reviews and the actual opportunity to put your hands on it and decide whether it's worth retail money, right? You either have to buy into some kind of day one release, wait X number of days, and hope that your friends aren't just out of their minds and that you actually can trust them if they've picked it up, or wait for a sale. Those are not enough options. There has got to be some kind of, and personally, I don't care if it hurts sales. I really don't care. I care about people who play games. I care far less about people who make them. That's not my end of things. My end of things is caring about people who play them and who pay money for them.
This is America.
So, well, no, if it was America, then I would be saying that, like, the corporate disposition is the only one that matters. We talk about the success of a company or a platform based on its sales. Like, I don't care. We talk about the poor game developers that have a hard time. Yeah, I know. Everybody has a hard time. My job is to care about how good the games are, whether they're good for us, whether the game is worth the money and the time.
Yeah.
What a good time it is, what it makes us feel, and how good it makes us feel.
It's the show me industry.
Yeah. It really needs to be. Right now there are barriers, there are gaps, there's trenches and troughs, there's all sorts of garbage between us and just deciding whether this is worth, frankly, a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if there was an option to do that. And those options recede. They get further and further away. So,
Well, we want to thank everybody who showed up tonight. Going to go down the list of everybody in the chat room, or at least who are in there right now. AC Wraith, Lavos, Cali Synth, Leopold Kane. Sorry you came in late, missed the show. Medusa's Mirror, Multile, and STM Fuller and Tactus59. Thanks for stopping in the chat room and saying hello and watching the show. We appreciate it. Thanks, everybody, for joining us as well, listening on the stream, even on the radio. Thanks to everybody who grabs us each week from iTunes or however you get our show for later use. We really appreciate it. Go to ingamechat.net. You can join us on Twitter, Facebook, our forums at colonyofgamers.com. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're on Steam, we've got a Steam group you can join up with there and play games with us and other listeners. Look at our curator shop thing, and also if you're still playing Destiny, we've got a clan that you can join up with, trying to get some people to raid. There's a trophy that you can get if you do a raid with all clan members in it, so that would be nice to maybe make happen. So anyway, thanks everybody. We will see you next Saturday. Have a great week. Going to leave you with music from Crimson Skies. It's the main theme. We will see you next Saturday. Have a good one.